You're about to unlock secrets that countless sales pros wished they'd known when they fumbled over their very first cold call, poured coffee on their tie before a make-or-break pitch, and asked themselves, is selling really for me? If you've ever wondered why some salespeople close deals like magicians, while others seem to vanish right before payday, then stick around, because this is not just another business audiobook. This is The Psychology of Selling by Brian Tracy, a worldwide sales classic that promises to turn every eager listener, from side hustle starters to seasoned pros, into a lean, mean, deal-closing machine. Let's be honest. Have you ever felt sales is just throwing mud at the wall and hoping something sticks? Or maybe you think the sales superstars were born with a silver tongue, while you're just hoping your voice doesn't squeak when you ask for the deal. Well, what if you could double, triple, even quadruple your sales without needing to talk faster, hustle harder, or wear a new lucky suit every meeting? Why do some people seem to reach the top 10% while others keep getting told, maybe next quarter? What's the real secret that separates the top closers from everyone else? Could it really be as simple as adjusting a few habits or rewriting the mental soundtrack playing in your head? Brian Tracy doesn't just dangle promises. He delivers a toolkit loaded with techniques, scripts, science-backed principles, and a kick-in-the-pants motivation designed for everyday people just like you. Tracy's own story isn't some cookie-cutter, I got rich in sales pitch. He started with zero connections, zero experience, and enough rejections to make most people run for the hills. But by studying the habits of million-dollar earners and seeking out real wisdom, and humorously, learning that gift of gab only gets you so far, he cracked open the formula anyone can follow. Want to know why people really buy and how you can make yourself irresistible to them? Curious how a few key questions, even the right kind of silence, can flip I'm not interested into where do I sign? Would you like to enter the top 20% of your industry? Maybe even the top 4% and never worry about your next paycheck again? Ready for practical strategies that work in London, Los Angeles, and everywhere in between? This audiobook isn't about cheesy, outdated sales tricks. It's about understanding real people, unlocking your real potential, and building lasting success. One conversation, yes, even the awkward ones, at a time. Get ready to laugh, to learn, and to walk away knowing you're more than a salesperson. You're a professional with the power to change your own future, starting today. Let's dive in and start selling smarter, faster, and with a lot more fun. The winning edge is here, waiting for you. Chapter 1 of The Psychology of Selling by Brian Tracy, titled The Inner Game of Selling, welcomes you into the not-so-glamorous yet thrilling world where the first battle every salesperson fights isn't with a stubborn client or a tricky product, but with the voice inside their own head. Now, let's be real. Have you ever psyched yourself out right before a sales call, convinced that you just don't have it, whatever that magic sales charisma is? Maybe you thought top earners were born wearing power suits, closing deals in their diapers, while the rest of us are left clutching a notepad, Googling how to survive a sales meeting during lunch. Brian Tracy, having started his own journey without an Ivy League badge or a single cold call to his name, promises from the start that anyone, and he means anyone, can learn the art of selling big if they first master their inner dialogue and self-belief. Let's set the stage. Sales is often referred to as a numbers game, but in reality, it's a mind game. Tracy blasts away the myth that selling is about being slicker, louder, or luckier than the competition. Instead, success begins in that gray matter between your ears. Tracy introduces what he calls the self-concept, your inner belief about who you are, what you're capable of, and, yes, how much money you deserve to make each year. If your internal financial thermostat is set at $50,000, even if you land a few big commissions, you'll start self-sabotaging to get back to normal. Why? Because humans love comfort. Even if comfort means surviving on ramen noodles and old coffee, right? Raise your thermostat, and suddenly you'll find ways to play at a much higher level, triple your income, and start buying better coffee, maybe even with oat milk, like a real winner. But how does this play out in the real world? Imagine you're a rookie realtor in Los Angeles, not just battling the endless traffic, but also the voice saying, you can't close deals like those top agents do. Every failed cold call feels like proof you're not cut out for this, and every botched appointment echoes. Maybe you should update your resume. But Tracy's voice, part coach and part stand-up comedian, reminds you that every superstar has been there. He recounts how self-doubt and shaky hands are universal rookie symptoms, not chronic illnesses. More importantly, he shows how the top closers don't dwell on these fumbles. Instead, they train their minds to see rejection as just business, not some cosmic sign from the universe to join a monastery. Honestly, the only place with more rejection than sales is probably Hollywood auditions. This chapter dives into the promising paradox that the difference between the high earners and the average agents isn't superhuman intelligence or a phone voice blessed by Morgan Freeman. It's a collection of very small things, done very well, day after day, a kind of winning edge. Tracy hammers home the lesson that small, incremental improvements, like running one more block or adding a little extra effort to each conversation, separate longtime strugglers from overnight sensations. A horse that wins by a nose snags 10 times the prize money, not because it's 10 times faster, but because it did just a little bit more. In sales, the winner takes all, so being just a nose ahead really matters. One of Tracy's laugh-out-loud anecdotes involves people's creative excuses for sales failure. Some say, "I just don't have the gift of gab," or "my clients are immune to charm." His response, nonsense. Tracy reveals through research and personal stories that no one is born a sales superstar. It's what goes on inside the mind. Positive affirmations, learning from failure, visualizing yourself as the best, that lays the foundation. That's why the chapter ends with practical steps any human, even those not blessed with perfect hair or a silver tongue, can try. Start your day telling yourself, "I like myself." Repeat it until it feels less like a cheesy seminar and more like a tiny confidence boost, the sort of thing that, research shows, can actually rewire your brain after enough repetition. Tracy's chapter promises that by winning the inner game, you'll see real-world results, higher income, more resilience, and, crucially, the know-how to brush off setbacks like dog hair on a dark suit. Master the mindset, and the outer game, prospecting, presentations, closing, becomes not just easier, but actually enjoyable, like finally seeing your work pay off. You're not at the mercy of chance. You're in the driver's seat, or, as Tracy might say, behind the wheel of your own commission-powered convertible, feeling the wind and thinking about ways to top even your best month. A real-life example. Carmen, a first-year insurance rep, used to break a sweat for every sale and lost sleep over every no. Applying Tracy's tactics, she started imagining herself as a respected expert, literally acting the part, right down to the way she walked into meetings. She wrote her own mental soundtrack, rehearsed it like a Broadway role, and made it her mission to learn from every lost deal instead of crumbling inside. Within months, her numbers shot up, and so did her confidence. Her secret? She worked on her self-concept day in and day out, just as Tracy prescribes. Finally, this chapter doesn't sugarcoat the road ahead, but the promise is massive. If you change your inner narrative, control your inner game, and layer in the daily habits of the true pros, you'll not only close more deals, but enjoy the peace of mind, financial freedom, and that quietly smug feeling of knowing you just proved every doubter, including your own inner critic, completely wrong. Sales mastery, Tracy insists, is 90% mindset and only 10% memorizing product specs or perfecting your pitch. Bring humor, bring grit, bring your "I like myself" mantra, and you'll have everything you need for a breakthrough. No matter if you're hustling in Manhattan, Manchester, or working your way up from a tiny, windowless office with a stubborn phone and a dream. Chapter 2 of The Psychology of Selling, titled Set and Achieve All Your Sales Goals, is where Brian Tracy rolls up the sleeves and gets into one of the most powerful secrets of super successful salespeople: the ability to set clear, burning hot goals and engineer their lives around those goals until they become as real as the morning coffee rush. Now, let's be honest. If you've ever set a New Year's resolution and, by mid-February, it's gone the way of your outdated fax machine, you're not alone. Tracy doesn't just understand that struggle. He offers a blueprint to get your sales goals off the sticky note and into your bank account, blending practical wisdom with just the right pinch of humor and lived experience to make every word land for the modern, real-world salesperson. Brian Tracy opens the chapter with a universal reality. The best salespeople aren't born with magical powers or secret family connections. Instead, they are fiercely, almost hilariously, goal-oriented. Picture Tom, the rep who tapes a sticky note to his bathroom mirror that says 20 appointments this week, or no dessert. And you get the idea. Tracy promises that if you cultivate this rigid focus on goals, you'll not only sell more, you'll find yourself waking up excited and going to bed with the satisfaction of big progress, and maybe some celebratory dessert. So what's the big promise here? Tracy insists that learning to set and achieve your sales goals is the single most game-changing habit you can develop, not just for your business, but for your life. He says, with a straight face and a little wink, that the simple act of writing your goals down unlocks forces inside your brain that are almost spooky. Your subconscious mind becomes a tireless bloodhound, sniffing out opportunities, connecting the dots, and giving you ideas just when you need them. Imagine you're halfway through a sales call, searching for the right words, and bam, suddenly you know exactly what to say. That's not magic. It's the power of goal setting working in the background, quietly making you a bigger force to be reckoned with. But let's get practical. Tracy details that successful sales pros treat their goals like sacred contracts, not vague hopes or nice-to-haves. He coaches you to get specific. Instead of, I want to sell more, you say, I will close 5 deals with new clients by the end of the month, totaling $50,000 in revenue. The more you can see, hear, and almost taste your goal, the more your mind works overtime to make it happen. Tracy isn't shy to call out shortcuts or wishful thinking, by the way. He jokes that maybe and someday are the verbal equivalents of sales kryptonite. It's about turning someday into by Friday at 3 p.m. He also explores the classic research-backed methods that rocket the process along. Thinking on paper, setting measurable milestones, outlining daily, weekly, and monthly action plans, and, here's the kicker, reviewing them constantly, like that one coach who always seems to have a whistle around his neck and everyone's best stats memorized. According to Tracy, you want to become the coach and player of your own career, tracking stats, high-fiving yourself for the wins, and learning, not sulking, from the misses. Let's pivot to a real-life scenario. Imagine Samantha, a mid-level sales manager for a software company in Texas. Before adopting Tracy's system, her targets felt more like executive pipe dreams, blurry, out of reach, and a little overwhelming. But after a workshop with Brian, she started every Monday with written, measurable, time-bound goals. Suddenly, she was scouting new leads at coffee shops, using her commute to rehearse sales pitches, and keeping a little victory log where she jotted down every closed deal and even every, I learned something from a lost one. Not only did she start smashing her targets, her team noticed and started mimicking her methods, which led to a culture shift where success became contagious. By the end of the quarter, not only did Samantha have her cake, she was eating it too, alongside a much fatter commission check. Tracy doesn't ignore the elephant in the room, the constant distractions and setbacks that come with sales. Missed appointments, cold leads, gatekeepers who make Buckingham Palace security look easy, and, of course, your own motivation doing its Monday morning disappearing act. The chapter's big promise isn't that you'll never have a rough week. It's that, with the right goals crystallized in your mind, you'll rebound faster, push further, and laugh off the small stuff because your eyes are locked on the bigger picture. He encourages salespeople to visualize their goals daily, talk about them often, and share them with supportive peers, turning private ambition into a public commitment and letting some good, old-fashioned peer pressure work its magic. Humor runs throughout, with Tracy poking fun at our tendency to get lost in planning Someday Island and never actually launch the boat. He says that don't just stand there, do something. Philosophy trumps perfectionism, stressing that action beats meditation, especially in a fast-paced industry where, if you aren't moving, you're getting left behind. For anyone who has spent more time reorganizing their color-coded sales spreadsheet than making a single call, guilty as charged. Tracy's gentle ribbing and stern encouragement is the push we all need. But the real home run of the chapter is its call to transform your wish list into a hit list, a daily assault on your targets, fueled by relentless reviewing, course-correcting, and genuine celebration of every step forward, no matter how tiny. He argues that most people overestimate what they can do in a month and underestimate what focused, goal-driven action can accomplish in a year. The salespeople who track their progress are the only ones truly surprised when, one sale at a time, they pass their talented rivals by and become the example everyone else studies. To wrap it up, set and achieve all your sales goals isn't just a pep talk for the chronically distracted. It's a practical, deeply human playbook for anyone aiming to become their industry's go-to closer. Tracy infuses the chapter with enough stories, humor, and lived wisdom to remind you that big achievement is the sum of hundreds of small, sweaty, often unglamorous steps, repeated with purpose and reviewed with honesty. The big promise? If you do the work, set the targets, write them down, and keep them in sharp focus day after day. No matter the rejection, the uncertainty, or the days when your coffee just tastes off, you'll not only hit your goals, you'll surprise yourself with how high you can actually climb. And if that's not a reason to smile, pull out a fresh sticky note and get to work. Well, maybe you need to read this chapter twice. All right, settle in, because Chapter 3, Why People Buy, from Brian Tracy's The Psychology of Selling, pulls back the curtain on something every salesperson, marketer, business owner, or honestly, anyone who's ever tried to get someone to say yes, absolutely needs to understand at the deepest level. Forget trying to dazzle people just with features, fancy charts, or your company's latest cutting-edge technology. Tracy's not shy. People buy for their own reasons, and, spoiler alert, it's almost never about what you care about. It's always about them, about emotion, and about what's running quietly under the surface in every interaction. So, why do folks actually whip out their credit cards, sign on the dotted line, or hit buy now at 2 a.m.? Tracy boils down the mess and the mystery to some beautifully simple, universal realities. Every purchase is about improving one's life. It's really as basic as wanting more good stuff, the desire for gain, or running the heck away from bad stuff, the fear of loss. Seriously, if you've ever bought a gym membership in January or clung to an insurance plan just in case, you already know these forces rule our choices a lot more than logic ever does. Tracy jokes that salespeople who try to win on price or quality alone are missing the real show. They're like magicians performing card tricks in a dark room, because folks don't buy because the price is right. They buy because the value feels right to their hearts and minds, and the cost of not buying feels uncomfortable, even risky. You see it every day, not just in business, but in life. Let's take a couple window shopping in a furniture store. They think they're arguing over color palettes, but really, she's dreaming of dinner parties where friends admire her great taste, and he's worried about whether new couches mean no more takeout for a month. The funny part? Tracy reveals with relish that the fear of missing out, regret, or making a buying mistake is almost twice as powerful as the urge to score a win. Let's face it, most of us remember a bad purchase with more regret than we remember an amazing deal with joy. And so, great salespeople learn to gently turn up the pleasure and softly press the fear of missing out button, showing how what you offer will make life better and how missing it will sting just enough to tip the scales. Here's where the chapter's promise comes in hot. Once you master why people buy, emotion, gain, loss, and fear, you won't just get better at closing deals, you'll build trust, attract repeat customers, and even feel pretty great about yourself, because you're finally speaking human, not sales robot. Tracy dives into the practical. Uncovering customer needs is all about genuine conversation, smart questions, and tons of listening. The one asking questions is in control. The one listing features without listening, usually just tired at the end of the day, with fewer sales to show for it. Think about your last big purchase. Maybe you just wanted a reliable car, but what you were really chasing was peace of mind, the safety of getting your family around, the respect or envy of your neighbors, even the thrill of that new car smell. We buy dreams, not things, and the sooner sellers get that, the sooner the cash register starts dinging more often. A lot of this comes down to basic needs. Tracy maps out this secret menu of motivators sitting in every customer's mind: money, security, being liked, status, health, recognition, power, leading the pack, love. Yep, even the desire for self-transformation. Ever wonder why your friend keeps buying those fitness trackers? Or why someone will pay a premium for a well-known brand when the generic version is almost identical? That's status and belonging whispering over logic. Ever watch someone only browsing suddenly get excited about a limited time offer? That's the fear of loss in action. Nobody wants to miss out and feel left out, right? It's why FOMO, fear of missing out, is sales rocket fuel, especially in America and the UK, where being in the know or first to the party has its own special cachet. Let's laugh for a second about sales scripts that overcomplicate things. Anyone in the field will recognize this. Some eager, nervous newbie thinks memorizing a list of features will guarantee a win, rattling off specs like, "Our insurance package includes 24/7 roadside assistance, umbrella policies, no-claim bonuses, dental insurance for your goldfish." Meanwhile, the seasoned pro sits back, smiles, and simply asks, "What matters to you when choosing insurance?" A client who feels heard and understood is far more likely to say yes, even to a higher-priced offer, than one who just gets a data dump. Tracy's golden rule: focus on what keeps your client up at night or what they daydream about at work, not what's on your marketing brochure. One of the best things here is how Tracy encourages salespeople to flip into consultant mode. Ditch the hard pitch and become a problem solver, a fellow human who wants to help upgrade the buyer's life. In his stories and strategies, we get a blend of neuroscience, common sense, and that friendly nudge that feels like good advice over coffee rather than an uptight seminar. He makes sure you remember that buyers decide emotionally, then go looking for reasons to justify it logically. And if you ignore the emotions while selling, you're swimming upstream in a suit. Picture a young entrepreneur, Maya, trying to sell marketing services to a coffee shop owner. At first, Maya is eager and overloaded with facts about digital traffic, conversion rates, pixels, and ad copy. The owner, though, isn't buying. He's listening for assurances that his business will still feel personal, will keep regulars coming in, and might finally beat out the fancy spot down the street. So Maya pivots, talking about how the right campaign will make customers feel noticed, how new loyalty programs could spark community pride, how the cafe could host events and become the place in the neighborhood. Suddenly, the owner's eyes light up. She connected with his desire for community, for belonging, and yes, a little splash of friendly local fame. That's Tracy's playbook in action. Know and serve the real, sometimes unspoken, needs underneath the surface. The next time that owner thinks about upgrading or referring another business, who's he going to call? The one who cared about his why, not just his what. If Tracy could sum up the true big promise of this chapter, it's this: stop selling products and start selling a better version of your client's life. Tap into their real-world hopes, worries, insecure moments, and quiet ambitions. Turn the simple act of buying into an act of self-improvement or self-protection, showing how what you offer is the bridge from who they are today to who they want to be tomorrow. And if you learn to lean into people's needs for gain and their anxieties about loss, to meet them with honesty, empathy, and real value, your sales numbers will not just rise. They'll stick around and keep going up month after month, because people remember how you made them feel long after they forget your product details. The psychology of selling doesn't offer quick fixes or cheesy tricks in this chapter. Instead, it's about rewiring how you listen, shifting from "what can I sell" to "why does this person want or need to buy?" That change is what separates order takers from superstar sellers and builds relationships that last in any market, any town, any product category. No matter how the world of sales evolves, those truths stay the same. If there's one thing that sets the super sellers apart from the pack, those people who waltz into a chaotic Monday and somehow leave with a fatter wallet and a surprising number of handshakes, it's creativity, and that's exactly what Brian Tracy digs into in Chapter 4, Creative Selling, from the Psychology of Selling. And no, not creativity like painting sunsets on the side or inventing a new dance move for office parties, though, hey, points for enthusiasm. This is the everyday, problem-solving, adaptive kind of creativity that turns the average salesperson into someone prospects can't wait to do business with. Even when life throws in a traffic jam, last-minute objections, or a competitor promising the moon and maybe a handful of stars. You'll get hit with the big promise right off the bat. Tracy insists that anyone, yes, even the hard-nosed, analytical types and the folks who swear they aren't creative, can become more innovative in how they sell, simply by working on their mindset and practicing new approaches every single week. If you've ever felt boxed in by sales scripts, memorized pitches, or company handbooks that sound like leftovers from the 1990s, it's time to toss those in the recycling bin. Tracy argues that creativity is really about improvement and adaptation, not some mystical talent bestowed at birth. If you've ever zigzagged through rush hour traffic without losing your cool, you already have the creative spirit needed for sales. You just need to redirect it to cold calls, buyer needs, and product presentations. Let's get into the heart of the matter. Creativity is your secret weapon for prospecting, especially when the warm leads have gone cold and your usual approach starts sounding stale, even to your own ears. Think about landing in a new market, starting a fresh territory, or just realizing your clients are suddenly obsessed with something you never emphasized in your pitch. Tracy's prescription? Ask powerful, focused questions like, what's the most compelling feature of my offer? Or what does my product do for this client that no one else can? Suddenly, you're not rattling off features, but creating solutions tailor-made for each person who walks through your door, and customers feel it. Prospects light up when you talk about their unique needs, and you shape your conversation in a way that fits them like an old pair of jeans, comfortable, effective, impossible for the competition to copy. It's also about seeing buying motives that aren't immediately obvious, which means you dig deeper than price tags, ratings, and specs. Maybe your product offers peace of mind, lets someone be the hero in their office, or even just saves them from a week of headaches. One example Tracy loves. He encourages sellers to ask themselves, what feature am I most proud of? And what do happy customers always mention after they buy from us? Use those answers to pivot your pitch, adjust your demo, or even, if you're bold enough, rewrite your entire message to focus on a benefit no one else in your industry is emphasizing. When you show up ready to customize, improvise, and adapt, you're suddenly an ally, not a typical salesperson who's just looking for a signature. And this creativity isn't just for solo hustle. It's in team strategy, too. Tracy describes systems where sales teams brainstorm new scripts together, share stories, swap objections they overcame, and even role-play methods for breaking through customer resistance. The result is not just camaraderie, but a competitive edge so sharp it leaves folks wondering what special sauce is in your company coffee. Now, picture a small business owner, Jamie, trying to market a new subscription service for home repairs. On paper, the offer is solid: monthly checkups, preferred pricing, emergency hotline. But Jamie runs into brick wall after brick wall, with customers reasoning, why sign up? Everything works fine now. Instead of stubbornly repeating the same pitch, Jamie switches gears, starting to ask, what worries you most about unexpected breakdowns? One client confides about a flooded basement nightmare, another about endless phone tag when things go wrong, and a third about the hassle of finding a trustworthy repair service at midnight. Jamie picks up on these cues, updates the sales approach, and starts pitching peace of mind, instant access, and trusted help. Before long, sign-ups tick up, referrals spike, and Jamie ends each workweek feeling less stressed and a whole lot richer. The magic wasn't in the original offering. It was in creatively responding to what people actually needed, then making them feel like this new service could help them sleep easier. Tracy also unpacks how to use creativity to handle objections, turning little bumps in the road into launch pads instead of stop signs. When someone says, your price is too high, don't shrink back. Instead, Tracy says be proud of it and ask, with a smile, would you like to know why our smartest customers choose us anyway? That opens up the chance to tell stories, reference happy customers, and share benefits that make price resistance fade out. Creative selling is not about having the slickest comeback. It's about making your conversation relevant, memorable, and genuine. And if you throw in a little humor, maybe even a story about your own embarrassing spills, rookie mistakes, or happy surprises, the whole process feels less like a transaction and more like a partnership. Tracy promises that as you practice this kind of thinking, finding new uses for your product, solving surprise problems, highlighting unexpected benefits. You become indispensable. Clients remember you not just for what you sold, but for how you helped them solve a real problem. You rise above the noise because you adapt as fast as the market shifts, whether it's new technology, shifting customer tastes, or that one competitor who keeps undercutting everyone. And best of all, when you fuse creative selling with strong teamwork, ongoing training, and constant self-improvement, your results aren't just bigger, they're more consistent, more satisfying, and the kind that make business fun again. In the end, creative selling delivers a big promise. Cultivate your curiosity, keep asking how you can serve better, and always look for a way around obstacles, even the ones that seemed impossible yesterday. If you do that, you'll outpace, outlast, and outsell anyone who's just following a script. It's not about being flashy or genius-level smart. It's about creative effort, thoughtful questions, and being willing to adapt, improvise, and collaborate. Tracy's message is that the world's best salespeople aren't just smooth talkers. They're creative problem solvers, trusted partners, and people every client wants to call back, recommend, and remember for all the right reasons. Chapter 5 of Brian Tracy's The Psychology of Selling, entitled Getting More Appointments, is where the rubber meets the road for salespeople who've learned all the theory and big promises, but still struggle to get that crucial first yes, the appointment itself. You might think the hardest part of selling is closing the deal, but if you can't get someone to sit down with you, shake hands, or even pick up the phone to listen, the sale is still miles away. And that's exactly why Tracy drills deep into practical, no-nonsense strategies to help you get in front of the right people again and again, because more appointments means more chances to close deals, build relationships, and grow your income. The big promise Brian kicks off with is simple but game-changing. Learning how to get more appointments can turbocharge your entire sales pipeline, turning your efforts from a tedious numbers game into a strategic, rewarding process where you spend time with the best prospects rather than chasing ghosts. He shares insights that are both sophisticated and straightforward, aimed at transforming your approach from hoping for a maybe to locking in a yes, let's talk, over and over. And yes, these skills work anywhere in the USA, UK, or beyond, making your hustle global ready. Imagine you're a salesperson juggling dozens of leads, but your calendar resembles a ghost town. Tracy points out that the first sale you make isn't to your customer, but to yourself. You have to commit mentally to following proven steps, staying persistent even when the phone goes to voicemail or gatekeepers block access, or when prospects respond with a polite no, thanks. The tools he offers here are about persistence and strategy, calling with purpose, crafting compelling opening lines, and most critically, asking for appointments in ways that are respectful but hard to refuse. He'll nudge you away from vague asks like, "Can I stop by sometime?" which usually lead to vague, "Sure, maybe next week," and towards very specific, time-committed asks. "Is Tuesday at 10 a.m. or Thursday at 3 p.m. better for you?" Notice the power in defining options and urging decision rather than leaving things open-ended. It's a psychological trick to get that yes firmly on your calendar. Another gem Tracy shares is about preparation. The better you know your prospect's market, industry pain points, and even their personal style, the better you tailor your pitch to what truly matters to them. He's all about making your first contact count. It's not just a warm-up. It's a full-court press that either opens the door or politely closes it, but never waste the chance with filler words or awkward pauses. You learn to communicate like a pro who's more consultant than salesperson, someone the prospect feels understands their challenges and has something valuable to offer rather than just some flashy pitch. Brian also sheds light on how little things make a big difference. Your tone of voice, your confidence, your timing, and how you handle initial rejection can turn "not now" into "yes" next week. Drawing from his own stories and research, he reminds us that most top salespeople spend a big chunk of their time getting good appointments rather than jumping straight into the hard sell. Their secret? They build rapport, they listen, they prepare, and they never let an excuse like, "I'm too busy" stop them, because they have a toolbox of techniques, ranging from the power of persistence to the right way to leave voicemail messages. Let's say you're working in technology sales, trying to book a meeting with a notoriously busy CIO. Using Tracy's approach, instead of sending a generic "Can we meet?" email that vanishes into the abyss, You send a short, punchy note referencing a recent news item relevant to their company, your mutual connection's name, or a trending industry challenge with a simple question. Can we discuss how you're handling specific issue? Are you available for 15 minutes Tuesday or Thursday? You're banking on curiosity, relevance, and giving clear options. If phone calls are your game, Tracy mitigates the anxiety of being hung up on by suggesting scripts that balance professionalism and relational warmth. Persistence paired with genuine human connection. This chapter also touches on the mindset shift needed for sustained success. You can't take every refusal personally, and if you pace yourself properly, you'll keep a steady rhythm of appointments that fuel your pipeline. Tracy's system requires discipline but promises freedom. The better you are at getting appointments, the fewer desperate cold calls you'll have to make, and the more time you'll spend closing real opportunities. It's like moving from a frantic sprint to a calculated marathon, building momentum that eventually feels natural and even enjoyable. What's more, Tracy dives into creative ways to uncover new appointment sources beyond the obvious, leveraging referrals, networking events, social media intros, even casual conversations that seed the possibility of a professional meeting. The promise here is that getting appointments isn't some mystical skill or the domain of extroverted superstars. It's a learnable, repeatable system accessible to anyone willing to develop it step by step. He reminds you that every appointment isn't just a potential sale. It's a relationship starter and a chance to learn and improve your sales craft. In wrapping up, the chapter offers encouragement and realistic expectations, balancing eagerness with patience. Tracy brings humor to the reality that many seasoned salespeople have been ghosted, rebuffed, or stuck in endless loops of trying to get a foot in the door. But those who master the art of how to get more appointments change their trajectory entirely. And that's the big promise. Adjust your approach using these proven strategies. Maintain persistent professionalism, and watch your calendar fill up with quality meetings that feed a strong, ongoing sales pipeline. Whether you're dialing prospects in New York, emailing clients in London, or meeting leads in Chicago, these lessons transform your daily sales hustle into an actionable, successful rhythm that's as consistent as your morning coffee, only with more payoffs and fewer spills. So, if you've ever stared at a blinking phone, wondered how to break through the noise, or felt stuck in appointment purgatory, this chapter is your invitation to get intentional, strategic, and yes, a little creative about how you earn those meetings and ultimately win the sales. Chapter 6, The Power of Suggestion, from Brian Tracy's The Psychology of Selling, is one of those chapters where you realize selling is as much art as science, and your own presence, attitude, and subtle communication are powerful tools most salespeople overlook. Imagine walking into a room, not just with a pitch memorized, but with a vibe that says, I'm calm, confident, and you're about to have a great experience, before you even utter a word. That's the power Tracy taps into here, a kind of soft but unstoppable influence that pro salespeople wield to shape how prospects see them, their product, and ultimately the buying decision itself. What's the big promise? Tracy's saying that by mastering this power, you control the selling atmosphere, both external and internal, and this influence dramatically boosts your ability to persuade and close. You're essentially setting the stage so that when it's time to talk about products or prices, the prospect is already leaning your way psychologically. One of the core ideas Brian shares is that people are constantly influenced by suggestive elements all around them, often without even realizing it. This includes the people around them, friends, family, colleagues, the physical environment, cleanliness, lighting, and yes, how well you dress, and, importantly, the internal signals you send through your body language, voice, and attitude. Research shows that as much as 90% of communication can be nonverbal, so your posture, eye contact, and tone of voice could be making or breaking your deal before you even say, hello. Tracy encourages salespeople to always present themselves as if they are already the top professionals in their field. Walk like you've got a seat at the table, talk with the confidence of someone who knows their product inside out, and watch how prospects automatically respond with greater trust and openness. Tracy also digs into how powerful suggestion can be combined with strategic language. For example, framing your offer with confident questions. I could show you the best product on the market today. Are you in the position to invest? Price. right now instantly moves the conversation from, will you listen to me, to how much can you invest? This subtle shift is like changing the game board from opening play to endgame, and it requires that you have already built value and rapport before dropping these lines. You're encouraged to think of your own internal environment, your mindset and emotions, as equally important factors in this suggestive power. If you feel nervous or unsure, that's not just affecting you. It's literally broadcasting to your customer. Tracy reminds sellers how crucial it is to practice positive affirmations, visualize success, and cultivate a mental state of calm confidence before every sales call. It may sound like a pep talk, but this internal tuning shapes your voice, your facial expressions, and how you interpret the customer's signals, making your entire approach more magnetic. Think about the last time you walked into a store or met a service provider where the salesperson's confidence and calm made you immediately comfortable. Maybe it was the difference between talking to a stressed-out clerk and an enthusiastic expert who made you feel like your needs were understood and valued. Tracy highlights that the power of suggestion works both ways. When you boost the buyer's self-esteem by treating them like a valued customer or potential success story, their openness increases, and with it, their willingness to buy. Another key aspect is mastering the physical space and controlling your selling environment. Whether you're meeting in a sleek office, knocking on a residential door, or dialing prospects on the phone, being mindful of how you present yourself and how the environment feels plays into the subconscious lean in or lean away from your pitch. Brian recommends simple tweaks like keeping your environment neat and professional, dressing well, and ensuring your voice sounds warm and confident. These sounds like small details, but in sales, they aren't small at all. They're the undercurrents that tip a client's decision. Now, imagine a financial advisor named Kevin who's always felt a bit stiff and nervous when meeting new clients. After reading this chapter and practicing the power of suggestion, he starts walking with more purpose, making more deliberate eye contact, and choosing his words with soft authority rather than desperation. Before pitches, Kevin spends a few minutes visualizing a successful outcome, telling himself, I am calm, I am competent, I help clients succeed. It sounds simple, and maybe even a little silly to the skeptics, but over time, Kevin finds his clients relaxing faster and conversations flowing more naturally. His closing rate improves, and he no longer nervously fidgets with his pen or stumbles over his words. His personality becomes his secret selling edge, not just the products he offers. Brian Tracy's message here isn't about trickery or manipulation. It's about ethical influence rooted in genuine confidence, courtesy, and preparation. When you show up as the best version of yourself, supported by an environment and mindset designed to inspire trust, you're inviting prospects into a space where they feel safe and smart to buy. One of the funnier truths Tracy shares is how much people like to be around those who treat them well and believe in their own value. The chapter humorously notes that whenever you do something to raise someone else's self-esteem, your own self-esteem goes up the same degree. Talk about a feel-good win-win. Overall, the power of suggestion offers a deep dive into how much of selling is about creating the right psychological atmosphere and how mastering your posture, tone, attitude, and environment primes the buyer to listen intuitively and respond positively. This is the invisible influence pulling the levers behind the scenes of every successful sale, and mastering it promises not just more sales, but more confidence, better relationships, and greater satisfaction from your work. Whether you're making cold calls, walking into a meeting, or sitting down for your fifth follow-up, the subtle art of suggestion is your all-weather tool for turning maybe into let's do this with grace and power. Chapter 7, Making the Sale, from Brian Tracy's The Psychology of Selling, is where all the preparation, relationship building, and prospecting merge into one pivotal moment, the close. It's the point where many salespeople freeze up, stumble, or rush, but Tracy's chapter is like a calming, masterful guidebook on handling that big step with confidence, grace, and results. It's not about pushiness or gimmicks. It's about understanding buyer psychology, mastering key techniques, and making the customer feel truly ready and comfortable to say yes. Right from the jump, Tracy reminds us just how strong the natural sales resistance is. People have this built-in alarm system when approached by a salesperson, They've been trained by years of experience to guard their wallets and time. The secret isn't to fight this resistance head-on because you'll lose that battle, but to recognize it and handle it thoughtfully. Instead of tripping over objections or seeing resistance as a wall, Tracy encourages leaning in with empathy, patience, and healthy persistence. It's like being a friendly but respectful guide who helps someone see the value without feeling pressured. One of the cornerstones of the chapter is the concept that people make decisions emotionally and then justify those decisions logically. This flips a lot of traditional sales advice on its head because so many think it's about facts and figures alone. Tracy explains how emotions like desire, fear, excitement, and pride color every buying decision. What this means for sellers is that your job is to connect emotionally through stories, benefits, and the right tone, and not just rattle off specs. Then, when the buyer feels good, they look for the reasons to justify their feelings, and that's when you close. The chapter dives into several tried-and-true closing techniques, each designed to fit different buyer personalities and situations. For instance, the assumptive close, where you act like the sale is a given and guide the customer gently toward next steps. Or the alternative choice close, where you give the buyer two options, both leading toward a sale, making it easier for them to say, yes, that one. Tracy says the right close depends on listening carefully to your client and reading the moment. He also highlights the role of confidence in making the sale, a confidence rooted in self-esteem, preparation, and belief in the product or service. When you love and believe in what you're selling, that certainty shines through in your voice and demeanor. On the other hand, if you're hesitant or unsure, prospects pick that up immediately and may hesitate themselves. Tracy offers the insight that one of the best times to close is right after you've made a sale, because the boost in morale fuels a positive momentum that can carry you through the next pitch. Picture a used car salesperson named Lisa who's offered a test drive and gotten positive signs, but she knows this isn't a done deal. Instead of bombarding the customer with discounts or pushing too hard, Lisa uses what she learned from this chapter. She asks about which features were most exciting during the drive, listens intently to concerns, and uses stories about how other buyers felt relief and pride after getting the same car. When it comes time to seal the deal, she doesn't ask, "Do you want it or not?" Instead, she offers options. Would you like to handle financing here or through your bank? Or would you prefer to take delivery this week or next? Because she frames the next steps as a natural progression, the customer feels in control and ready, making the sale a smooth handoff rather than an abrupt final push. Tracy knows salespeople fear objections. They see them as roadblocks instead of opportunities. But the chapter flips this around, teaching how to welcome objections as signs of interest or requests for clarification. The key is having ready, honest, and empathetic answers that lower doubts without being defensive. When a prospect says, "It's more than I expected," rather than panic, Tracy encourages affirming their concern. It is an investment, and one that brings a lot of value, and gently reminding them of the benefits they care about. That's how objections become a natural step closer to saying yes, rather than a reason to walk away. This chapter also emphasizes the importance of maintaining enthusiasm and body language that aligns with your message, even when faced with hesitations. You're not just selling a product, you're selling confidence, trust, and a better version of the customer's future. Tracy reminds us that when you display genuine enthusiasm and belief, prospects catch that vibe, much like catching a cold, but way more fun. Another useful insight is the idea of value selling, where the focus is less on cost and more on the benefits and outcomes the buyer gains. Tracy advises spending less time talking about price and more time illuminating how the product or service meets deep needs, whether that's saving time, gaining trust, improving security, or just making life easier. When buyers see the value clearly, they're far more willing to pay, and pay happily. Ultimately, the promise here is that making the sale is a natural, even enjoyable part of the sales conversation if you know how to prepare, listen, respond, and close in ways that feel good to everyone involved. It's less about seal-the-deal pressure tactics and more about guiding your prospect through a logical and emotional flow that ends naturally in agreement. You'll learn not just to close one sale, but to lay foundations for ongoing relationships that bring in repeat business and referrals. So, if you've ever felt stuck, pressured, or unsure in that final stretch of the sales process, this chapter is your toolkit for turning those moments into confident wins with ease and authenticity. It's where preparation, psychology, empathy, and communication all come together to make closing the deal feel like less of a sprint and more like the satisfying finish line you train for every day. Chapter 8 of Brian Tracy's The Psychology of Selling, titled 10 Keys to Success in Selling, is like your ultimate roadmap if you want to transform from a good salesperson into a great one, or from "I'm okay at this" to a top-tier pro making a real impact. It's not about secret hacks or getting lucky with one big sale, but about a powerful, consistent approach to your mindset, skills, and habits that results in long-term growth and success. Imagine sitting down with a friend who's been around the block in sales, ready to spill the truth about what separates the leaders from the rest, with a dash of humor and real talk that hits closer to home than any generic guide. Brian kicks things off by stressing that you really have to love what you're doing. Think about it. How many people can fake enthusiasm day in, day out? Tracy's not flipping pancakes here. He means that genuine passion for your product, your customers, and the process itself fuels the kind of energy that prospects pick up on, making them more likely to listen, trust, and yes, buy. If you're not in love with your gig, the 10 keys won't do squat because sales is a marathon, not a 100-yard dash. Then there's the almost cliche-sounding but crucial point of knowing exactly what you want. This isn't some vague, "I want to be rich" vibe, but crystal clear targets like, "I'm going to increase my sales by 30% this quarter," or "I'm booking 15 high-quality appointments a week." Tracy insists you write these down, review them constantly, and let them permeate everything you do. This concrete focus channels your energy and transforms big dreams into achievable milestones. And, hey, it's way more satisfying to tell your friends you're chasing specific numbers rather than just hoping for the best. Persistence gets a well-deserved shout-out because the road to sales success is peppered with no's and maybe laters. Tracy suggests deciding once and for all to develop a no-quit attitude. If you want to be among the best, you'll need the grit to knock on doors, make calls, and follow up even when the results aren't immediately flattering. A little humor sneaks in as he points out how most successful failures actually outlast everyone else. They just stick around until they win. Lifelong learning is also a big part of Tracy's blueprint. The best salespeople never stop teaching themselves, whether through books, mentors, seminars, or just reflecting on each interaction to learn what worked and what didn't. This hunger for growth keeps you sharp, adaptable, and ahead of the game in fast-changing markets. And listen, he's the kind of guy who'd seriously recommend conducting sales postmortems. Not the spooky kind, but going over what went right, what you could improve, and how to do better tomorrow. Time management gets its own spotlight, because if you're the kind of person who finds 3 hours have mysteriously slipped away while answering emails or scrolling social media, this section's your wake-up call. Tracy highlights focusing on high-impact activities like prospecting, calls, and meetings instead of busy work. He's a big fan of developing a sense of urgency, not as in stress, but as in disciplined hustle toward prioritized goals. It's the difference between reactive chaos and proactive strategy. Following the leader is another nugget Tracy throws in with a wink. Success leaves clues, and it's smart to learn from those who've climbed the ladder already. Instead of reinventing the wheel, study top salespeople's behaviors, language, and habits, and model your own growth accordingly. It's like having a shortcut through all the trial and error. Character and integrity sit at the core of the 10 keys because without trust, you're just noise, no matter how smooth your pitch. Tracy reminds us that honesty, fairness, and reliability turn first-time customers into lifelong clients who'll not only buy again, but sing your praises loudly. This authenticity wins you respect in your community and industry, which is an unshakable foundation for sustainable sales success. And here's a part that resonates deeply: creativity. Tracy insists that creativity isn't just for artists or inventors. In sales, it means finding fresh, authentic ways to connect, solve problems, and turn no into what if. Creativity shines in customizing pitches, handling objections with smart solutions, and constantly evolving your approach. You don't need to reinvent the wheel every day, but even small shifts can set you apart and keep your clients interested. The golden rule is a powerful closer. Treat others the way you want to be treated. Tracy doesn't sugarcoat it. Kindness, attention, and genuine caring create an atmosphere where clients feel valued and comfortable. When customers sense you're truly on their side, buying becomes an easy choice, and you create ambassadors, not just one-off sales. And, of course, Tracy emphasizes paying the price of success, meaning consistent effort, discipline, and the willingness to go the extra mile. There are no shortcuts here, but the payoff is monumental. Satisfaction, respect, higher income, and the kind of career that feels meaningful and rewarding. Imagine a salesperson named Jamie who, before discovering these keys, felt stuck in a hamster wheel. Lots of activity, few results, and growing burnout. As Jamie starts to apply these 10 keys, setting clear goals, following successful peers, managing time tightly, and practicing positive self-talk, the results start adding up. Prospects respond better, deals close faster, and the work feels more purposeful. Jamie's not just selling a product anymore, but building a career and a legacy. Brian Tracy's 10 keys don't just promise more sales. They offer a way to own your professional journey fully, make deliberate choices every day, and build a sales career that's as fulfilling as it is lucrative. If you're ready to shift from just getting by to truly excelling, these principles guide the way, with actionable advice, mindset shifts, and a touch of humor to remind you that even on the toughest days, you're learning, growing, and moving closer to the top. Wrapping up The Psychology of Selling by Brian Tracy, the core takeaway is this: sales isn't just about loud pitches, slick tactics, or fast talking. It's fundamentally about understanding people, mastering your own mindset, and developing genuine connections. Throughout the book, Brian reveals that success comes when you control your inner dialogue, set clear goals, and embrace the real drivers of human behavior. Emotions like desire and fear, the basic forces pushing every buying decision. Imagine sales as less a battlefield and more a dance. You tune in to your partner's mindset, anticipate their moves, and lead gracefully with confidence and authenticity. One of Tracy's breakthroughs is how deeply your own self-belief sets limits or opens doors. He introduces the idea of your financial thermostat, the internal, often subconscious, limit of what you think you deserve to earn, which literally shapes your actions and income. Great salespeople don't just change what they sell, they change how they see themselves. They replace doubt or fear with solid affirmations of confidence, which doesn't make the sales easier, but makes the salesperson more resilient, motivated, and magnetic. This mental rewiring turns rejection into just another step forward rather than a fatal blow. Tracy's blueprint is practical and actionable. Set specific, measurable goals for every day, week, and month. These goals light a fire under your daily actions, making sure every call, email, or meeting serves a purpose, pushing you closer to those targets. Beyond chasing numbers, sales is about emotional connection, knowing your customers' needs, fears, and dreams, then linking your product's value clearly and personally to those feelings. When you sell value rather than just product features, clients see you as a problem solver, not a pitchman. One of the deeper lessons revolves around listening and asking the right questions. Buyers talk more, sellers listen more. Controlling the conversation with insightful questions gives you control and uncovers true objections before they block the deal. And objections aren't enemies, but signals. They're your chance to clarify, reassure, and strengthen your customers' confidence in their decision. Persistence comes up repeatedly too. The best salespeople keep hustling strategically, keeping their pipeline fed by regular prospecting and following up. They don't just wait for warm leads. They create their own opportunities, knowing that each no brings them one step closer to a yes. And when the close finally comes, it's not a hard sell, but a natural step after value and trust have been built. Imagine a salesperson who used to dread calls and feel overwhelmed by rejection, but, by applying these principles, starts to see a consistent rhythm in their days, a trusted process that leads to steady wins and growing confidence. That transformation is the true result Brian Tracy offers, and the key message he leaves you with. In essence, The Psychology of Selling isn't just a sales manual. It's a mindset guide, a human behavior study, and a practical how-to all rolled into one. It says you can rise to the top by changing how you think, preparing thoroughly, listening deeply, communicating clearly, and treating every sale as a genuine opportunity to help someone improve their life. This book offers more than strategies. It offers a way to transform your career and your confidence by mastering the psychological art behind every sale. From aspiring newcomers to seasoned pros, the lessons here promise not just more sales, but a more fulfilling career, where you know you're making a positive impact while reaching your financial goals. If sales has ever felt like a grind or a game of luck, Brian Tracy's Psychology of Selling hands you the tools to flip the script and take control with grace, skill, and a bit of humor along the way. That's the kind of insight that resonates in New York, London, and everywhere good salespeople gather to learn and grow. If you enjoyed this audiobook summary, don't forget to hit that like button to show your support. And if you want to keep growing your knowledge with more insightful audiobook summaries, make sure to subscribe to CliffNote Chronicles. We bring you powerful, easy-to-understand breakdowns of the best books to help you learn, grow, and succeed faster. Hit subscribe now and turn on the notifications so you never miss a new summary that could change your life.